A very, very good evening to everybody in Assam. Tattu Khandiyai hol, olop goduliu hoy, and but we are almost on an afternoon thing here from Bombay. And yeah, dine hoy ase, pray duporia rodor nisna hoy ase, but it's so great, and to kind of be doing this. Ami etu pray eta duma hol. We are connecting Assamese minds and amazing thoughts from around everywhere. আৰু এটা geography থাকিম বুলি ক'লে ভুল হ'ব it's getting a lot of different connections and different ideas are getting into the point. This was a dream that we had started on and wanted to build up different conversations, different lines of thought, different narratives. Slowly but steadily, Rahul and I have thought that this would be a mini series. আমি ভাবিছিলো Let's Talk will be a mini series. আমি তিনিটা চাৰিটা কৰি চাম, but it has gone on to more and more. So today is about perceptions and understanding. Perception as how you perceive. Ami keneke bhabo, are obviously with special reference to Assam. Aur sei karone amar logot amar advertising or branding, advertising, design, news media, fashion, Bollywood. We are bringing a few interesting minds who will tell us how things are. Aro I'm very, very happy to bring into the mix. I'm opening up with a very dear friend of mine, Babita, Baruah. Hello.
Hello.
Namaskar.
Khub bhal lagise Joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us, Babita. I know moi baido bilie kobo lagibo. Aro we have a long shared history. Ami Digboy. I think we are second generation friends right now, and Babita Baruah is a very accomplished, highly placed individual in the advertising and branding scene. A lot of varied experience. So, Babita, would you like to, from your perspective, would you like to tell us what you do and how have you been going about it?
Thank you. Khub bhal lagise baido boli nai koa. Mane boyokhor difference to monar pori gol hoy. Yes, Big Boy really connects us. So, more story khosake I've come a long way physically distance of pinapra koisu karon career or life or panapra we can never say we've come a long way, right? Because it's always miles to go before it all ends one day. But currently, so for the last 24 years, which is a very long time, I've been working with the WPP group. It was at our communication, brand building, marketing partners to a lot of businesses globally and in India. So I don't know whether the audience here is familiar with HTA, JWT, Eta Wunderman Thompson. So it's all the same group. Moi JWT কাম কৰিছিলো for the last 22 years. Aru 3 বছৰ পৰা it's a part of the same company. It's called GTB, Global Team Blue. We work exclusively for Ford Motor Company, Ford cars across the world. Our my India office to head koru. So Joy, this is what I do as a job. Kintu really moi bahut সময় spend koru just sharing my learning, mentoring a lot of women. Moi just bhabu je moi jitu nije the hurdles I face, the challenges I face, and not just because I've come from another state ba another heri. It's just that I feel a lot of women have broken ladders to the same stairway they have to climb, and those of us who've gone through that, we have a lot to share. So I spend a lot of time doing that. And that's I spend a lot of time teaching. Aji duporeao aji asolte amar bondho idor babe kintu moi eta MIT University logot session korilu online just to sort of teach them about what is happening in the digital world. So yes, that's pretty much what I do.
I'm sure amar sai thaka audience bahute gomo paise ke because but I think you have been advertising has been your forte. I think that has been the thing which will define you. Amar adi kotha to asle perception. I mean, how do we perceive and how are perceptions built? Etia apnaloke jenake kaam kore in terms of eta brand lobo pare, eta product lobo pare. Would you give us an example? Hey, perception to kenake build up hoy jay, and would you remember something যোনটোত আপনি জড়িত হৈ আছিলে এটা ইন্টাৰেষ্টিং পারসেপশন বিল্ডিং?
So perception to jodi ami just define koru in a very simple language. A perception is a set of emotions or feelings or attitude that you have towards somebody or something. Gotike, I particularly focus on the word feelings and emotions, the feelings and emotions that you have towards something. Our Mojito example, Disu, in fact, I read about it, Joy, honestly, after you told me about this session. Kintu my khub relevant palo example too. And that is a story which happened 1,000 years ago when, Greenland is actually Iceland, right? It's icy and it's called Greenland. And 1,000 years ago, there was a person called Eric the Red who was banished from Iceland to this place. And he wanted others to come and settle in that place. You want a new settlement to be in this icy, frozen, jot kuno manu nai, jot you just have like maybe a sparse fauna, difficult to survive, etc. So he decided to call it Greenland. And there was no green. But he did that 1,000 years ago to get settlers in. And the settlers actually came in and Greenland became what it is today. My example to pori khub bhal palu kyo. Imagine at a time when all of this was not there and you've really turned one desert icy place into a place where families came, children came, loraswali dangor hol tat, all because somebody in the mind changed it. So perception is really a mind game and a heart game. Eku bostu change nokora kyo. Perception to change korba pari if the intent is there. Having said that, etu nohoy je, you false promises don't work in today's world. So perception change kora to correct. I'll give you an example from the Ford world. Jot moi kam koru etia. Gari, I'm sorry, it's cars, and maybe it's not of interest to everybody. That's what I do now.
Yeah, of course.
So, Gari perception hodai hoy je eta service cost bahut high. Mane Gari khon kinilu, kintu tar pisot every month jitu recurring cost of ownership buli ami jitu ko, it's very high. And Ford was also facing that problem along with others. So 3 years earlier, we partnered with Ford together, and it was a big exercise we did to change this perception. And the changing perception came with a proposition that jitu ami tagline buli kole bhul hobo. It's a brand promise. Jitu ami articulate korilu feels like family wali feeling jitu Hindit koy mane family nisna feeling, and feels like family to kyo koa hol karon the brand wanted to reach out to consumers, owners, and say your family jeneke ruthlessly honest hobo, jeneke jitu price hoy hetue kobo, 1 taka besi charge nokore. We are about that. So to walk the talk, they did a lot of things. So for example, jitu Ford website or gole, you'll see there's something called a service price calculator. Hey, calculator, or if you put in your car make and you put in servicing or jitu details lage, and it throws up a price. Hey, price to is sacrosanct. You can take that printout out. Or tapra 1 taka jodi besi hoy, you have a right to talk to whoever you need in the system. And lahe lahe ami dekhilu that this feels like family. Jitu family wali feeling, it has been embraced by everybody as stakeholders. So for example, like we hear stories about, say there's a dealer who rati 12 bajat, he got a call je gari ekhon Ford Endeavour ekhon beya hol. So he drove his own Ford Endeavour and he went. This was in Chennai.
Just to be clear, this was for Ford India.
Yes, Ford India, only Ford.
Because family is big in India.
It is only India. India. Thank you for the clarification. Yes.
Of course.
So that 12 o'clock or rati jeta gari khon beya hol, he went with his car and he said, "Thik ase, I'm taking the car back." He'll call his team. You drive my car and go home. Nijor sabi to didile. Now, Joy, you can argue that etu bohote koribo. After all, dealer car interest ase he koribo. But what he did after that was he said, "Jetya leke I don't fix the car and give it back to your house. Please use my car." That feels like family. Which is, moi jodi bhabu je tumi family member as a stakeholder, moi himan khini lentot jam to make sure you feel. Aru enuka amar bahut example ase, and the business transformation is totally rooted in this promise that we came up. So perception changing to, it is a very internalized thing. It is not one campaign. It is not one ad. It is not one tagline. It has to be a culture of a place to say, "Ami enake behave korim." Only then that works.
I think that family. I think that family word, which has come down, it has trickled down to a lot of Indian things. But a family pizza pie, burger ase, family pack. I think family is really caught on the great Indian family.
Yes.
that is the operative word here, right?
Yes, operative word etu aru when we did we don't need to do research kintu ki hoy dangor project or hoday research backing helps, right?
Right.
এই বস্তুটো ক্লিয়াৰলি ওলাইছে যে ইন এন এজ অফ ডিষ্ট্ৰাষ্ট আমি বহুত বস্তু ডিষ্ট্ৰাষ্ট কৰোঁ এতিয়া ফেক নিউজ ডেটা প্ৰিভেচি কাক বিশ্বাস কৰিম এভৰিৱেৰ দেৰ আৰ ডিফাৰেণ্ট কাইণ্ডছ অফ নিউজ ব্ৰেণ্ডছে মিছা কথা কয় ইন দ্যাট দ্য ওৱান ইনষ্টিটিউশ্যন দ্যাট পিপল ট্ৰাষ্ট ইন ইণ্ডিয়া স্পেচিয়েলি ইজ দ্য ফেমিলি মই বেলেগ কাকো বিশ্বাস কৰোঁ নকৰোঁ মোৰ ফেমিলিক মই বিশ্বাস কৰোঁ আই ফল বেক অন দেম so feels like family is about trust, about honesty, about transparency.
But India is rooted in the family tradition also.
Yes.
Everything is family. Amar protecto kotha family loi kora hoy agbora hoy. Amar mane westot jontu mane 18 bochorte lorasli ulai gusi jay amar etialoke kitu hua nai we still think back
exactly. Yeah. Or a case study to moi jitu koisu if people are interested it's very much there on the net the work is there interesting june interested you can see that to me I was involved in it hekarne moi to example disu there are a lot of very good examples outside on perception change
Ford boli kole mane duta relevant kotha aise one is the obvious that big movie Ford versus Ferrari that's on Netflix that's a big one between Ford Ferrari keneke ki hol aru going back to school I had this very amazing hero back at the time of which I had read about 2-3 books. Lee Iacocca.
Of course.
Lee Iacocca that he was GM Ford and then he went on to Chrysler. Then he had things with Italian car companies. But the Ford story and Chrysler was very much ingrained in us because he kitabur laisil tetia back in the late 80s and 90s. Growing up, Iacocca was a hero. But then all of corporate world a lot kisman artist or both are different but nevertheless since you choose to speak about Ford but I just it's a small world because because those companies also got really big because they had great ideas that's what it is they had great ideas to connect and it was not only about selling it was about also the finding the correct idea kuntu idea lo ami agole jao how to make that really trickle down to everybody
Correct. I normally more example to my avoid koru karan amar ola protocol ase kintu you asked me the question of what have you been involved in so I thought this was a good example but yes the fundamentals of what changes perception remain the same it has to be followed by action by a lot of credibility নহলে মানুহে বিশ্বাস নকৰে when you say I have changed I want to change কি change কৰিছা হেতু দেখাব লাগিব
মানে মই তাকে মানে and perception is sometimes everything it's a perception of a story of a person of history of geography even jontu Greenland kotha kola he changed the perception of geography he didn't even get started on history etia amar jontu kotha olaise dhor historical kotha olaise heri olaise mane aru eta kotha hoise ami jontu all of the agote patisilu in the wired world in the connected world perceptions are changing faster than they were.
Correct.
Agote there were things that would have gone down like 25 years without being challenged. Etia 300 bochor purona perception people are challenging the status quo of what things are. Aru amar India jenukai nohok bar India karone bor tekhet nasil he was not definitely a hero to India but etia mane Robert Cliver's statue people they want to bring down in Britain and those were part of different narratives and perception management aru thik teneke sabo gole people are questioning the reason for making a movie like Churchill and hetu on both sides of the ocean perception to beleg hoy jay Churchill or of the continent of the bigger continent that is
yes
so perception management probably will require very different kind of thinking and short-term thinking as well because agor bostu some things have fallen like the Berlin Wall agor ta bostu to nathakege unless you're probably a saint or something who's never had to walk controversy what I mean or historically defined things so I think that was a case in point with your experience so many years outside what is the perception of Assam moi as an artist kobo paru but what is since you have seen it from an outsider's perspective what is the perception of Assam You can choose any or more lines to go about it.
Of course. So my own perception is one of love and affection for a place that is always my home, right? I'm an Ohomia first. মই খুব গৰ্বেৰে কওঁ এইটো কথা যে মই অসমীয়া মই যেতিয়াই পাৰো মই ক'বা সেশনত মাতক বা ইন মাই হেৰি মই খুব এক্সাম্পলছ দিওঁ and there are a lot of things perception wise যিটো অসমৰ strength আছে, and I'll tell you those values যিটো আমাৰ বহুত দিনৰ পৰা আছিলে, those are becoming global values now. For example, the role of women in society, in Assamese society, ami hodai we had a very independent place, we were respected, our voice was heard, our etia mane globally, I'm part of diversity council, inclusion, etc. Ar moi khub proud feel koru, and I give this example je moi jopra ahisu, we never had an opportunity of feeling je moi inferior in my family or in my household or in my society, similarly I think education. Ketao eta barrier nai je education should not be for everyone, etc.
Yeah.
Respect for every profession. We have been brought up to believe to be jote kam kora, whether it's an agriculture, whether it's an oil company, tea company, whether it's your own business, everybody is respected. Kintu moi jetu notice korisu je moi jodi belek karba khudhu what is the perception of Assam, etia hoyto the answer is diffused, and maybe the answer is diffused because there are many narratives which are floating around. Our personal view disu to joy, I may be wrong. There are many views floating around. So for example, of late, and to me jitu koisa, because of technology we see and hear a lot more about Assam and everything else, right? Our moi dekhisu je there have been a lot of fantastic initiatives taken for cultural awareness. So my bahut forum dekhisu jitu hoy where a lot of culture, food, handicraft, jitu koi mane sangskriti, to showcase that. Perception change to culture is a big part of it, but I feel perception to build koribole there has to be some other narratives as well along with culture. So immediate perception is that it is a land in the east which is somewhat still isolated in a lot of things. By isolated, I don't mean geographical isolation, but just in terms of mainstream narrative or logot, are we always aligned or are we always having a point of view? But definitely seen as a state of very honest people, very hardworking people, very liberated people. I just feel আৰু অলপ narrative to my story to আৰু মই agency পাহৰ কাৰণে মই story বুলি কওঁ, the story to আৰু অলপ সবে মিলি পেলাই এটা collective story বনালে আৰু ভাল হয়। কিয় কি এতিয়া কিয়নো এতিয়া বহুত ধৰক কিছুমানে কালচাৰৰ কথা কয়, কিছুমানে নৰ্থ ইষ্ট women entrepreneursৰ কথা কয়, কিছুমানে বহুতে এতিয়া কয় যে about the intellect power of India, কিন্তু কৰবাত they are all working in silos. এটা আমি যদি কোনবা এটা ফোরামত অসম শোকেস কৰো, are we also showcasing intellect, think tank jitu ase, are we showcasing people who are like moi koisu joy, like I work in a corporate, right? Moi to freelance koribo nwaru, but moi karbak jodi ko, you know what, I want to help you because I have some knowledge, I want to help you in your business. Moi paisa karone nako because I can't take money, I work in a corporate. Kintu moi jimane message to diu, people have to come and ask me for it, right? Because moi to Gurgaon bohi aso, I don't know, I can only say I'm willing to help you, I'm ready to help you. So mur ei forum to jeta invite korile Rahul and you, I felt good because I always wondered ki muk iman thait mate like all the other guests after me, various forums or ami kotha patu baki, and with a lot of pride we stand and talk about Assam. Kyo amak Ahomor forums or invite nohoy? Moi khodai bhabu, is it that we are meant to travel korlo ma travel korim, not an issue. So I'm very happy that this happened today, and I feel changing perception also means you have to embrace people who are working out of the state, because perception ami spread koru as much as people living in the state, and the more we are enriched, I think the more we can do this job together. Long answer.
But I think this is a complicated one actually. But I think you're qualified enough to understand what perception building is. Perception to kenake kore. Lot of us, when we walk out of Assam, we become ambassadors of the state. Our perception hoy. Kintu you guys are involved in the business of perception building, in the work of perception building. I think people like you should become stakeholders in understanding the state and projections outside.
Yes. হয়, কিন্তু projection to koribole, like supposing eta ami Ahomok long as a brand, right? Just for the sake of the discussion, কারণ কেউ easy হয় মুখ বুঝা তেতিয়া, right? কি হয়, as a brand, তোমাক যদি কোনবাই, I get the project. Your project is to change the perception of Assam in 3 years from now, right? So you have to go through a process then. Then it is not ad hoc. Tumi Gurgaon thaki, you change the perception. Ba Joy Bombay thaka, you yes, that will happen, but that's a slow burn. A to hobo laibo ki it's a time-bound project, working with partners who will actively do it. To start that project, ami kobo lagibo, some questions have to be answered. Number one, what is the perception we need to change? What do we want to be seen as? What is that one line? We want to be seen as a state that is da da da. That stands for XYZ. What is that? Hetu prothom crack korbo laibo. Otherwise, tumi jitu story diba, moi beleg story dim, kunbai beleg story dibo, and all need not meet. Second, the question is, are we trying to change perception or are we just trying to create awareness? Awareness hoise Ohomor kotha khub kom manhuhe jane. Ami ki koribo lage to make us come on the global stage. Perception change hoise, Ohomor perception to hoise, people are not so friendly. Maybe business or karne, it's not a friendly environment. Maybe the state is not as safe as we want it to be. Now, that is perception change, which is, ami kenake kom je, this state is can be potentially the center of excellence for homegrown entrepreneurship in India. So to be buji paisa, that concerted effort for a project goes into muk jeta kunba brand eta kam diye. This is how the discussion starts. Tar pisot we go through, okay, now what happens is, campaign and advertising is a very small way to look at it, but even then, messaging is critical. Key message dim ami in various channels to do this one story that we have agreed, correct? After that, after we have said that story, ami beleg facetor, tourism department, education department, department of handicrafts, etc. and stuff. Jiblak departments or institutions or people who face the outside world and represent the state. How are we briefing them to go about this process? So it is an exercise that has to be done by a committee or a council. Yes, tumi jitu koisa ami sobe koru. We love Ahom, right? I can't tell you how happy I am to be here, and I'll always do my job. Am I powerful enough to really create a change in perception? I don't think so. That's my answer.
Because that requires a different kind of sustained planning and action.
Yes. And somebody has to start it in a formal way. Buji paisa? What example today, and this is totally not political. Kintu my example to etu karone disu because again it's easy to understand. Jetia at a initiative like say Swachh Bharat hoy, which is about say cleaning India, or Beti Padhao hoy. My example kyo disu? The minute you make it like a vision statement, tomar every person from the lesser privileged economic strata to the ones which really rule the country have that common agenda, because that agenda has been articulated. Buji paisa? When an agenda is articulated, it is very easy to then have an action plan. But if some people are talking about save the girl child, some people say clean India, some people say health India, what are we about now? Hey Bostutu is what I mean by somebody has to start it and put the agenda in one well-articulated statement.
Right. Okay. All right. I think actually kotha patibole bahut thake, but we wanted a short burst, and
I know.
This is pretty high-powered information. I hope we get it. For all the reasons we call you, I hope we get and we understand what you've articulated so simply. And this simplicity comes, like, as you said, from 20-25 years of experience. It's not easy to articulate and bring that into focus. But thank you so much for being here. And I look for, because I think these discussions are just starting. I mean, both khini boste khuli loisu, but they will continue. And you will have to be part, and you will have to mentor a couple of things here. So on that note, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm very happy to do that. Thank you. Namaskar. Khub bhal lagile. All the best for the rest of the evening, and to my co-panelists.
Thank you, Babita. So that was amazing. Adi, actually, we have brought in different people. সকলোৱে অলপ অলপকে বুজাই দিব পাৰসেপশনটো কেনেকে হয় কি হয় যেনেকে কথা কৈছে মানে যে এটা হল এৱেৰনেছ এটা হল পাৰসেপশনটো আমি কৰিব লাগিব কেনেকে কাম কৰে আৰু আমি এইখিনি কথা আজি এইকাৰণে পাতিছো কাৰণ মই ভাবো যে পাৰসেপশনৰ আমাৰ অকমান প্ৰবলেম হৈ আছে আমাৰ আজি ইয়াৰ পিছত আৰাধনা আছে তাৰ পিছত আফ্ৰিডা আছে আমি এইখিনি কথাও পাতিম যেনেকে অসমৰ ফ্লাডছটোক লৈ কি পাৰসেপশন হয় বাহিৰ মানুহে কি বুলি ভাবে অসমখনত যে ফ্লাড হয় মানুহে আমি যে কৈ আছো এটা নেশ্যনেল ডিজাষ্টাৰ হ'ব লাগে what is the perception how do they perceive আমি কেনেকে থাকো বুলি ভাবে গোটেই নৰ্থ ইষ্টখন একেলগে আছে we will get to know about all that সেইকাৰণে that has to be in a perception building has to be an actionable plan এটা যোনটো plan আমি লিখি আমি we follow that plan apart from how we are being understood আমাক কেনেকে মানুহে বাহিৰত চাই কেনেকে বুজে apart from that personal of the personal situations of it আমাৰ ষ্টেটখন কেনেকে চাই that becomes the important thing আমাৰ definitely বহুতখিনি কাম কৰি আছে এনেকুৱা নহয় যে আজিয়ে কথা পাতিছে এইটো বিষয়ে মানুহে কথা পাতিছে কাম কৰিছে but it's just again to understand these things and these conversations are important সেইকাৰণে we brought in people who are in the business of taking things to the next level so it was a lovely time with Babita thank you for joining us here so right now joining me is Aradhana Baruah good evening Aradhana can you hear me
See me?
Okay. I can see you. Your video is a little slow. I think I'll have to take you out and get back in again. One video problem হৈ আছে. I'll see if I should get in Afrida earlier or Aradhana. Are you okay? Hi. Are you okay? Your video is a little slow, Aradhana. Would you like to log out and get back in again? অকমান ভিডিওটো শ্লো হৈ আছে Aradhana, I think I'll get in Afrida. We'll see. আমি আৰু এবাৰ চেষ্টা কৰি লওঁ That was a very, very interesting. I'll see if video this time is around all good. Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me, Aradhana?
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Good to have you with us. Amar.
I can.
And,
I can.
Yeah. So, Aradhana, Amak, why didn't you tell us to be ki kora and what do you do?
Good to see.
Aradhana, I think your video is still a problem. Aradhana, I think your video is still a problem.
Fashion.
You need to come back again. Sorry guys. These are connection problems. I'll get on with Afrida, I think. We were just having an amazing conversation with Babita. Fordor pra, Greenland pra home. It's fascinating actually when you talk to people who have seen and done things, how fluid can conversations be. So I think we are being joined by Afrida. Okay. Hi Afrida, good to see you.
Hi Joy, how are you? Ganesa.
Yeah, very
good
well.
To be with you again.
And good evening. Good evening to you.
Namaskar.
And thank you for
hello
sparing us
to
time.
everybody.
Namaskar. আমি জানো that you have a very busy schedule, but Afrida, মোৰ সদায় এইটো কথা থাকে that a lot of people in Assam, they don't really get what you do. So,
okay.
Or introduction to me, yeah. You do amazing work. Why did you give us a small introduction?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. So basically, I am now working with a television station called Times Network. It has a bouquet of 6 channels. I work for a channel called Mirror now. It's part of the Times of India group. Everyone knows the newspaper. So let me just say. So this is the television network of the Times of India group that I work with. ইয়াৰ আগতে মই টাইমছ নাও বুলি এটা চেনেলত আছিলো তাৰ আগতে মই আজ তকত কাম কৰিছিলো মই জামিয়া মিলিয়া ইছলামিয়াৰ পৰা MA কৰা মাছ কমিউনিকেশ্যনত তাৰ পিছত মই প্ৰথমতে ইণ্ডিয়া টুডে গ্ৰুপত কাম কৰিলো 7 বছৰ 2002 চনত মই জয়েন কৰা তাত মই আজ তক আৰু হেডলাইনছ টুডে বুলি তেওঁলোকৰ যিটো ইংলিছ চেনেল এতিয়া সেইটো ৰিনেম কৰা গ'ল ইণ্ডিয়া টুডে বুলি সো আই ৱাজ দেয়াৰ তাৰ হেতু টেনিয়ৰত মই অসমত 3 বছৰ কাম কৰিছিলো নৰ্থ ইষ্ট ব্যুৰোটো হ্যান্ডল কৰিছিলো for 3 years those were my glorious years you know Joy because I was so immensely proud of myself to be able to cover my home state আৰু মই আগতে কি জানি কৈছো এটো কথা যে বাকি বিলাক ন্যাশনাল ব্যুৰোত সব বাহিৰা মানুহ আছিল you know in the sense that অসমীয়া নাই মানে বাকিবোৰ অসম আসাম ব্যুৰোটো say before me there was Sanjay Nandan who was from Bihar so হেতু এটা মোৰ খুব ভাল ফেজ আছিল আৰু I was very young I was about 25 26 years old আৰু as a woman as a young journalist as an Assamese I was covering Assam but hetu eta brief period 3-4 years tar pisot obviously moi because of family compulsions shift koribo laga hol I came back to the head office so those were my initial years tar pisot moi majute newsx buli beleg eta channelot asilu aru etia moi Mirror Now channelor moi presenter aru moi teolokor social media to base moi actively kam koru So that's about the professional thing. I'm basically a broadcast journalist for the last 18 years. Yes. Go on.
আমার আসলে মানে আমার যেটো কথা হয় মানে রিসেন্টলি আমার দুসপ্তাহ যোনটো হয়েছে there has been an intense clamoring বস্তুটো মানে আমাৰ অসমত বানপানীৰ সমস্যাটো বাহিৰৰ প্ৰজেকশনটো যোনটো কথা হৈছে বস্তুটো কেনেকে হৈছে এতিয়া আমাৰ অৱশ্যে বহুত মানুহে বুজি নাপায় যে অসমীয়া এজন এংকৰ থাকিলে যে কথাটো ক'ব পাৰিব ইমান ইজি নহয় বস্তুটো you know so there are কিমানখিনি এটা ফ্যাক্টৰ থাকে দুটা কোৱেশ্চন আছে প্ৰথমটো হ'ল আমাৰ যোনটো এটা নিউজ মিডিয়াৰ যোনটো পাৰসেপশন অফ আসাম নিউজ এটা যেতিয়া বনে when আৰু যেটা তোমালোকে ডিসাইড কৰা যে এইটো নিউজ লৈ আমি বাহিৰলৈ যাওঁ উইল প্ৰেজেন্ট দিস নিউজ তেনেকুৱা এটা সময়ত অসমৰ নিচিনা ষ্টেটত এটা নিউজ হলে কিমান ইম্পৰ্টেন্স থাকে বা নাথাকে আই থিংক এই কথাবোৰ আমি যেতিয়াও ৰিপিটেটিভ মাজে মাজে পাতি থাকিব লাগে কাৰণ এনেকুৱা সময়ত মানুহে অলপ বুজিব লাগিব কাৰণ কিছুমান কথা আমি কিছুমান বস্তু কিমান ইজি আৰু কিছুমান বস্তু কিমান ইজি নহয় সো অসমৰ নিউজ এটা বাহিৰত পেজ কৰিবলৈ সেইটো কিমান ইজি বা কিমান ইজি নহয় আৰু সেই বিষয়ে with a prime channel like yours at a Mirror Now কি পারসেপশন হৈ আছে অসমত
মইতো এই সুযোগটো দিয়াৰ কাৰণে থ্যাংক ইউ বিকজ ইটো প্ৰায় মানুহে সুধে অসমৰ নিউজ কিয় কভাৰ ন্যাশনাল মিডিয়া টু দ্যাট লেভেল টু দ্যাট এক্সটেন্ট কিয় নহয় দিল্লী বম্বে সেন্ট্ৰিক বেসিকলি আমাৰ নিউজ আৰু হেতু লৈ আমাৰ ব্যাটল এতিয়াও চলি আছে মোৰ এটো 18 বছৰে মোৰ ষ্ট্ৰাগল যে অসমৰ নিউজ মই আমাৰ যেতিয়া নিউজ এটা নিউজ মেনু বুলি কয় বা যেটো আমাৰ when we draw out a list of news for today television news or কথাটো joy এনেকুৱা যে it's very here and now এতিয়া এনেকুৱা হৈ গৈছে everything is like এই মুহূৰ্তত কি হৈ আছে হেতু ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট আৰু এনেকুৱা এখন দেশ আমাৰ যে অনবৰতে there are about 25 to 30 things happening around across all over আৰু তাৰ ভিতৰত এডিটৰ এজনে এনেকৈ ডিসাইড কৰিব যে in order of national importance সেই হিচাপে চাব গলে যেতিয়া অসমত যেতিয়া বানপানী হয় তেতিয়া হেতু এটা ন্যাশনাল ইস্যু হৈ যায় তেতিয়া হেতু কভাৰেজ পায় তথাপিও আমি ভাবো যে যিমান দূৰলৈকে হ'ব লাগে but to what extent it should get coverage নহয় হেতু মই এডমিটও কৰো at one level but at another level মই ক'ব বিচাৰো যে তাৰ কাৰণে আমাক representation লাগে এটা মই এজনী ছোৱালী from Assam যদি বিহাৰৰ তিনটা থাকে and they pitch so I am a little bit I have to struggle a bit more so amak lage Assamese journalists amak ohomotu lage and we need in the head office also jate together I also then you become like a force multiplier then you have more voice right hetu eta amar ase constraint ohomor representation in the national newsrooms are very few kom ase etia hoise tothapio bahut kom secondly joy মই এটা কথা কওঁ আমি যদি story এটা pitch কৰো we have to apply our minds to it এতিয়া মই realize কৰিছো for me also it's a learning experience being patkai story to লোৱা যি হিচাপে national media project হ'ব লাগিছিল নাই হোৱা মই নিজে বহুত constraint feel কৰিছিলো to give that news some amount of prime coverage কিন্তু কেলে নাই পাৰা পিছত মই realize কৰিলো যে আমি ষ্টৰিটো অসমৰ ষ্টৰি হিচাপে পিচ কৰোঁ, সেইটো আমি ভুল কৰোঁ। বিকজ দিহিং পাটকাই ইজ নট অফক'ৰ্চ ট্ৰান্সগ্ৰেশ্যন ইন টু আৱাৰ টেৰিটৰী, বা এইটো এটা মাইনিং যিটো হৈছে সেইটো ইৰেগুলাৰিটি, দিছ মেলিফাইড ইণ্টেনশ্যন এণ্ড অল অফ দেট, বাট এইটো এটা যে গ্ল'বেল ইছ্যু, এইটো যে আমি এটা ৰেইন ফৰেষ্টৰ কথা কৈ আছো, ইট বিলংছ টু দ্য প্লেনেট, সেই বস্তুটো আমি তেনেকে প্ৰজেক্ট কৰিবলৈ জানিব লাগিব। অসম ইছ্যু বুলি ক'লে নহ'ব। ইভেন দ্য ফ্লাডছ, if we give it a little bit of a more of a global perspective about climate change, কিয় এইটো এটা phenomena, annual phenomena হৈছে, আৰু climate changeৰ লগত কেনেকে connect হৈ আছে, কেনেকে economyৰ লগত connect হৈ আছে কথাটো, it's not about few people getting displaced, মানে সেই simple এটা mindset যে casualty figure চা আৰু কেইটা মানুহ মৰিছে আৰু কিমান মানুহ ডিছপ্লেচ হৈছে, সেইটোৰ ওপৰত নিউজ ভ্যালুটো কৰা যায়। এটা মই তোমাক যদি কওঁ ইনসাইড ৱে অফ লুকিং এট থিংছ, যে নিউজৰ ভ্যালুটো চা, অ আৰে ইমানখিনি মানুহ, আমুকত ইমান মানুহ মৰিলে, সেইটো বিগাৰ নিউজ। চ' সেই তেনেকে ভ্যালুৱেশ্যনটো কৰিলে আমাৰ বহুত বাৰ দিগদাৰী হৈ যায়, এণ্ড আমাৰ নিউজ ফ্ৰম দ্য পইণ্ট অফ ভিউ অফ দ্য নিউজ ৰুম, আই উইল টেল ইউ, সদায় এইটোৱে ক্ৰাইটেৰিয়া যে whatever news we run in the national news, সেইটো relevance to all India হ'ব লাগে। আৰু that's again something you have to understand, যে অসমৰ নিউজ এটা খুব লোকেল ইম্পৰ্টেন্স নে ৰিজনেল ইম্পৰ্টেন্স নে নেশ্যনেল ইম্পৰ্টেন্স, সেইটো এটা আমি চাই পেলাই নিউজবিলাক লওঁ।
ন্যাশনাল ইম্পৰ্টেন্স, এটা ন্যাশনাল ইম্পৰ্টেন্সটো কোনে দিব? এটা চৰকাৰে এইটো ন্যাশনাল ডিজাস্টাৰ বুলি ক'লে সেইটো ন্যাশনাল ইম্পৰ্টেন্স পাব, নে সেইটো মিডিয়া হাউচৰ মাজত থাকিব? তাৰমানে সেইটো কোনে ডিসাইড কৰিব?
So সেইবিলাক পলিটিক্স, কিছুমান কথাটো ৰিয়ালিটি আছে জয়, এণ্ড আই ৱাজ লিসনিং টু আদিল হুছেইন, এণ্ড তেওঁ খুব বঢ়িয়াকে এটা কথা ক'লে, আৰু মই সেইটো বুজি পাইছো এতিয়া, যে এভৰিথিং ইজ কানেক্টেড ইন আ ৱে, যে ৰেপ্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন আমাৰ পাৰ্লিয়ামেণ্টতোনো কিমান, সেইটোও এটা মেটাৰ কৰে। আই মিন চৰকাৰখনৰ কাৰণে মেটাৰ কৰে যে আমাৰ তাত 14টা চিট আছে লোকসভাত, so that gets proportionately হিমানে importance compared to 82 in UP, সেইবিলাক পলিটিক্সটো আছে, এইটো তুমিও জানা ময়ো জানো, যে আমি যদি আজি কোৱেশ্চন কৰি থাকো আৰু
মানে just to bring another thing into this, মানে এতিয়াও টুইটাৰত মই দেখিছো লাগি আছে, মানে people are talking about how things were represented in the national anthem, okay,
yes,
আৰু
okay,
কেনেকে নৰ্থ ইষ্টখন ৰেপ্ৰেজেন্ট হৈছিলে, আৰু মানে গোটেই আমাৰ নৰ্থ ইষ্টৰ বেছিভাগ বস্তুৱে এফালে হিমাচল দেখাইছে, এফালে বেংগল দেখাইছে। মই এটা সেইটো সময়ৰ ৰেলেভেন্সটো বুজি পাওঁ, কথাটো তেনেকে যদি ভাবিছিলে কোনোবাই, কিন্তু এতিয়াও সেইবোৰ মানুহে লৈ they are still playing truant, they are still playing into the minds of Assamese people. মোৰ সেইটো মানে পলিটিক্সটো অকল পলিটিচিয়ানৰ লেভেলতে নহয়, politics is into the citizenry level, it is inside our minds, আৰু এইবোৰত তাৰমানে বহুত ধৰণৰ মানুহে আই থিংক ভুল শিক্ষা হৈছে বা ভুল হিষ্ট্ৰী শিকিছে, বা intentions are very different, but at the same time I think media perception যদি আমি আহো, মানে আজি কংগনা ৰাণাউতৰ যোনটো কেছ হৈছে, সেইটোতো পাৰসেপশ্যনৰ জেগাটো ইনভেষ্টিগেশ্যনো গুচি গৈছে মিডিয়ালে। আৰু এতিয়া
সেইটোৱে মই অডিয়েন্সকো এইটো কাৰণে ৰেছপন্সিবল বুলি কম, বিকজ সব মানুহে আমাৰ টেলিভিশ্যনতো কি হয় কি ৰেটিং চাব, কোনটো প্ৰগ্ৰাম মানুহে বেছি চাইছে, so how can you help it, there are certain compulsions for the television editor to get ratings, so audienceওতো, মই অসমৰ কাৰণে এটা half an hour show কৰিলো যোৱা দেওবাৰে, and Joy, you have also helped me with people to get me voices from Assam. আমাক কথা ক'ব পৰা মানুহ লাগে, সেইটো এটা আমাৰ আমাক ময়ে এতিয়া বহুতবাৰ মই যদি বিচাৰো যে আই নিড গুড ইংলিছ স্পিকিং, মানে কি হয় লেংগুৱেজটোতো আমাৰ কমিউনিকেশ্যন এইটোতো লাগিবই, ক্ৰাইটেৰিয়াটো, যে উই নিড গুড পিপল হু কেন স্পিক ৱেল in a television program, তেনেকুৱাটো মই কেতিয়াবা struggle কৰিব লাগে, I take your help, you give me some names, আমি ইজনে সিজনক এইবোৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত we do have an understanding, so তেনেকে মই দেওবাৰে এটা program মই কৰিলো, I pitched for it and I was allowed to do it, so মই অসমৰ floodsৰ ওপৰত half an hour I did a prime time at 8 o'clock on Mirror Now, which is not very common, by the way. I mean, I got it because I pitched for it, my editor was convinced, সেইকাৰণে মই কৈছো ৰেপ্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন দৰকাৰ, মোৰ জেগাত বেলেগ এজনী এংকাৰে সেই 8টা বজাৰ প্ৰগ্ৰামটোৰ কাৰণে অসমৰ নিউজটো পিচ নকৰিলেহেঁতেন, মই অসমৰ কাৰণে বা ইম্পৰ্টেন্সটো বুজি পালো কাৰণে কৰিলো, এণ্ড মাই এডিটৰ ডিড নট হেভ এনি বায়াছ, হি ছেড yeah sure, so তেওঁ মোক এলাউ কৰিলে। তাৰপিছত মোৰ নেক্সট ষ্ট্ৰাগল হ'ল, I need good speakers, okay, you helped me, another friend helped me, I got good speakers, I got that half an hour, I was very happy that I got a show on this issue, and we discussed issues, but the next thing comes now, when the ratings will come and they'll see how many people watched it. So more responsibility হেখিনিতে শেষ হৈ যায়, in the sense that beyond that মোৰ control নাই. এতিয়া audience কিমান চাইছে বা কিমান হেইটো rating লৈ পেলাই যদি next time if the editor decides that okay this didn't get so many takers, so what do we do? So মই তোমাক internal dynamics খিনি বুজাই দিছো যে কেতিয়াবা আমি নহব পাৰে unnecessarily কিছুমান বস্তু ভাবি লওঁ যে national media coverage নকৰে, but there are a lot of internal compulsions.
Can you tell us hey যেতিয়া চাই কিমান মানুহে চাই, how does it work? এটা কি হয় কথাটো? তুমি যদি অসমীয়া নিউজ
কথাটো এনেকুৱা হয় যে মই আকৌ এটা problem কি anchors of disclose নকৰে, all the ratings and everything is not completely disclosed. The way a television network works is that there's a marketing team, right, and there's an editorial team. এটা প্ৰত্যেক যিকোনো এটা product আমি যেতিয়া বজাৰত এটা product তোমাৰ প্ৰডাক্টটো যিমানেই ভাল নহওক, মাৰ্কেটিঙে সেইটো কেনেকে পিচ কৰে, কেনেকে ব্ৰেণ্ডিং কৰে, সেইটোৰ ওপৰত মানুহে কিনে। সেইকাৰণে পাৰচেপশ্যন যিটো কথা you were discussing with Babita Baruah as well, সেইটো ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট, so মোৰ প্ৰগ্ৰামটো যদি মাৰ্কেটিং টিমে তাক যদি এটা প্ৰমো বনায়, তাৰ যদি এটা ভালকে সেইটো আগতেই এনাউন্স কৰে যে আজি আমি আমুক আমুকক হেৰি কৰিম, আমুক আমুকক প্ৰেজেণ্ট কৰিম, আৰু সেই বস্তুটো ভালকে পিচ কৰে, তেতিয়া মানুহে গম পাব আগতীয়াকে আৰু চাব। বাট মোৰ প্ৰগ্ৰামটোক যদি সেইখিনি মাৰ্কেটিঙেও বেকিং নিদিয়ে, তেতিয়া কম মানুহে চালে। চ' বহুতখিনি ডাইনামিক্স থাকে, আৰু তাৰপিছত কম মানুহে চালে আকৌ সেইটো মোৰ ওপৰতে আহি যাব, বা সেই টপিকটো বা সেইটোৰ ওপৰত আহি যাব যে অকে এইটো টপিকত বেছি মানুহ ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট নহয়, তেওঁলোকে নাচায়। বাট কিয় নাচালে সেইটো এটা মানে এনেকুৱা মানে ইটছ এ ভেৰি নুৱান্সড থিং, চ' খুব চিম্পলিষ্টিক এটা জাজমেণ্ট কৰিলে ভুল হ'ব যে নেশ্যনেল মিডিয়াই cover নকৰে। জয়, মই সেইকাৰণে মই ইণ্টাৰনেল কথাখিনি কৈছো, and you wanted me to say this, that's why I thought I should.
মানে channel every segment needs representation, তাৰমানে হেতুটো কথা কৈছে না। মাৰ্কেটিংটো আমাৰ অসমত ইন্টাৰেষ্টেড মানুহ থাকিব লাগিব ন, নহলে if it doesn't get there, what's the point of you doing the thing? যদি মাৰ্কেটিং এটো সাপোৰ্ট কৰে না, যদি বুজিয়ে নাপায়, আৰু অসমৰ মানুহ থাকিবলৈ অসমৰ কথা বুজা মানুহ থাকিব লাগিব হয়। So মানে অকল এংকৰ এজনক আঙুলি আইডিয়াটো ভুল হয় কেতিয়াবা, যে এইটো কিয় আহা নাই বস্তুটো।
But তথাপি আমি সবে individually try কৰি আছো। Joy, you are also making such a big effort, because মই এতিয়া ভাবো যে, and you and me, we have always discussed these things. I think it has pricked our conscience so many times যে আমি অসমৰ ইস্যুজ বিলাক কেনেকে মেইনষ্ট্ৰীমত আনো, কেনেকে ডিসকাস কৰো। Even before lockdown, Joy, you and me, we have been very actively talking about these issues. And it's fortunate that we got this chance to put things together. এই বস্তুটোৰ আমাৰ ৰেসপন্সিবিলিটি নহয় জানো, মানে এজ এ জাৰ্নালিষ্টটো মোৰ ৰেসপন্সিবিলিটি হয়ে যে, but even as a citizen, and definitely, I mean, the place that we grew up and that has given us so much, সেই জায়গাটোৰ perception, সেই জায়গাটোৰ issues যিখিনি হয়, যিখিনি national attention লাগে, because a lot depends on how the narrative is built, and আমি changes দেখিছো even in your programs that you have done. There has been, maybe you can also elaborate, and you can also probably talk about it a little bit more, to help people understand যে এই discussions বোৰ কিয় দৰকাৰী, কিয় important, public opinion to generate kora towards a certain issue. And I have said this, that sometimes all it takes is people coming together on a single issue. People's power is huge, and it gets noticed by the leadership.
অকমান কেতিয়াবা যদি সৰল ভাৱে বুজিব লাগে, আই থিংক কথাটো মানে মোৰ কথাটো শুনি পেলাই এনেকুৱা লাগে যে মানে মিৰৰ নাউট বা য'তেই নহওক এনি চেনেল এটা নিউজ ৰেপ্ৰেজেন্টেশন পাওঁ।
ফ্ৰিজ হৈ গৈছে, অডিওটো অহা নাই। ওকে, এতিয়া শুনিছো। Are you able to hear me? মই শুনা নাই। Okay, now it's fine. Yeah, there was a bit fluctuating, huh?
মোৰ এইটো লাগিছে তাৰমানে যেনেকুৱাই চেনেল নহওক, তাত এটা নিউজ ওলাবলৈ, অসমৰ এটা নিউজ ওলাবলৈ অকল এংকৰ বাদ দি বহুত মানুহৰ ইমোশনাল ইনভেষ্টমেন্ট লাগিব। ইন এছাম মাৰ্কেটিং টিম, ৰিচাৰ্চ টিম, অসমৰ পৰা যোনে দিছে, আমাৰ যেতিয়ালৈকে সেই we don't reach that quorum of people, it will be tough getting out news.
সেইকাৰণে মই কৈছো আমাক representation লাগে, আৰু even the people that we have, the existing lot, they have to be a little bit more aggressive when they pitch their stories, because moi tenokwa iman bias nai dekha kintu newsroom or editor ajone deliberately bhabi loise je ami Ohomor news nokoru teneke kuno nai kora teneke kuno nokore. But when we draw out a list aru amar space constraint thake je ami 20 minutes but amar advertising khini bad di pelai 20 minutes 25 minutes at a news bulletin, how much can we pack in? So out of the 100 things happening in the country, which are the top 20? So that is the editorial call. Our hey edit meetings bur jetia hoy tetia everybody gets a voice. That is the time the person from Assam or the person who is the reporter in the bureau has a responsibility to pitch his stories. Everybody will pitch theirs. And the way you do it, jeneke moi kolu dihing patkai to jodi hey reporter to Ohomor story nisna ke pitch kore hetu pick up nohobo out of the top 25. But he jodi hetuke jodi global issue eta kori diye ba aggressive ke pitch kore je this is not an Assam story, it has a global context, aru etu rainforest okol Ohomor nohoy, this belongs to the planet, it's a future generation at stake. Ei bostu tu jodi kore thik teneke moi etia over time I have learned, and it's a trick. I mean, it's a skill, I would say.
It's a skill. It's a skill.
It's a skill.
Yeah,
so
it
you
done.
have to have it. It can be
it
done.
Can be learned. It can be done.
It can be learned. And I have also learned over the years. আৰু মোৰো বহুত অসমত যেতিয়া মই আছিলো তেতিয়া মোৰ বহুত বেয়া লাগে, মোৰ যেতিয়া বহুত কষ্ট কৰি এটা শুট কৰিলো, ৰিপৰ্ট এটা কৰিলো, when I send it doesn't get reflected, and I have suffered so much. তলতে এটা ticker বুলি কয়, the bottom of the screen you have the news, it will just flash there. The news from Assam will only flash there. It did not get reflected, and I have suffered through that phase. But now I learned that, well, did you pitch it right? Did you give it the right context? Did you understand how it can resonate with the national audience? How did you word it? How did you phrase it? Because yes, they have their compulsions. It has to resonate with someone sitting in Gujarat or someone sitting in Tamil Nadu, that this has happened in Assam. How is it relevant to me? So hey bostu to moi jodi na janu, tetia it will not get listed among the things that are decided
Afrida,
for the day.
I think it's very clear to us. I think tomar সকলো কামৰ লগত I think মই আবার adile to কথাখিনি শেষ হৈছে, but what I think you have to come back to Assam and inspire a generation, inspire an army of people.
This is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, you are. But you have to come more, and you have to inspire an army of people who will feed news. Amak je manhoe koi national media news to nathake, who will do the work and feed it into the places that need to be fed. Hetu koribo lagibo. I think ei bostu to jodi amar Ohomor ahibole media kami bhalke media students khini kotha to shikabo paro, at least they'll understand.
Yes, they have to.
They'll understand, that the person in Guwahati is as important as the anchor in Bombay. A chain to I think somewhere we are losing out on that chain. Karone ebu jetlake tumi reiterate kori nathaka, it doesn't remain in the consciousness or in conversations. But aru heitue kotha mane perception is also hammering. Perception to ever koi thaka kotha nohoy. Perception is always hammering. Ami Ohomor perception bohabole tomar experience of kotha khini we need hammering. And that's why
মানে আমাৰ যিখিনি ৰিসোৰ্স আছে, প্ৰথম কথা হল আমি নিজে বুজিব লাগিব এতিয়া ওয়ান হৰ্ন ৰাইনো টো যে এটা এক্সোটিক এনিমেল and it's an endangered species, আমি নিজে হেতু বস্তু যেতিয়া জানিম আৰু তাৰ মূল্যটো বুজিম, তেতিয়া আমি দুনিয়াক বুজাব, বাকি পৃথিৱীৰ মানুহক বুজাব পাৰিম। বা এতিয়া আমি কাজিৰঙা ফ্লাডিঙত যে ৰাইনোজ বোৰ মৰিছে, ওয়ান হৰ্ন ৰাইনো, সেইটো এটা কিমান ডাঙৰ কথা, সেই বস্তুটো আমি পিচ কৰিব পাৰিছো নে নাই, জানিছো নে নাই, আৰু সেই বস্তুটো আমি বাকি মানুহক তেতিয়া বুজাব পাৰিম যদি আমি নিজে হে সেন্স অফ প্ৰাইড টো আমাৰ আছে নে নাই, because it's a world heritage site, it's a biodiversity hotspot, এনেকুৱা এটা জায়গা we need to protect and preserve whatever it takes, আমি সেই বস্তুটো নিজৰ আগতে থাকিব লাগিব for others to understand it.
Pride is such an operative word here. More hetu shobd atatke bhal lage, because jetlage pride thake noy bahut bostu goi thake, it is really the fuel that feeds culture and generations. He bostu jetia naikia hoi jay bor problem hoi jay, amar mane etu ami kotha patilo amar north easter manu olop agote ami olop ghettos ot asilo, we would be in our own ghettos in Delhi and Bombay. Etia agotke to bahut bahi ahise, but in order to be heard, perception building out, we really need the numbers there.
We need the numbers.
We
vocal hoisu, you are speaking out, Adil is speaking out, we are all aggressively now, we are collectively we are doing it, And I'm
Right.
very happy, Joy, once again. Thank you so much, dear. We've taken up the cudgels now, when we want to.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's reflecting in social media, it's getting noticed.
yeah,
Whatever voice we have, it has to be
yeah,
used for the right
yeah.
purpose, isn't it?
Of course, of course. On that note, thank you, Afrida. I,
Thank you so much.
you,
Thank
you
you for
have
the
a
opportunity.
you have
And
a
thanks to
great
all the
weekend ahead.
viewers for watching.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Thank
too.
you. Thank you
You
for
too.
sharing the
Thanks a lot.
experience. Thank you. Bye. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you.
That was Afrida. And we'll try to get back to Aradhana. I see you waiting. Hi, Aradhana. Good evening to you again. Hi, hi.
Better?
Yeah,
Is
it
it
is. This
better
is better.
now?
Kunisane?
Perfect.
Okay.
Hunis.
Okay. So Aradhana is also a huge part of the fashion world. Aru, she's been part of different institutions. So, Aradhana, just a short introduction from your
Yeah,
side.
sure. So starting from where I left, I've been part of a lot of leading magazines in India as a stylist, as art director. Um, I've worked very recently with Vogue magazine. I was with Cosmopolitan before that, and Marie Claire before that. So yeah, basically a stylist and a fashion consultant from Assam.
Aradhana, I think you're being very humble, but you work with amazing minds and amazing people and amazing fashion icons. Before we get on the short conversation, anything interesting that you comes to your mind? Anything interesting?
I have been hearing both the guests before this on the show, and this was a thought that representation actually is so less. I mean, we might be like, oh, we are not getting represented, but they're actually on the mainstream, and we see there's so few people who have come out, and we actually are not talking about things that we want to talk. And like how you've started this, I feel there's so many times I think even as Assamese people, maybe it's a good thing, but we're very humble. We don't push ourselves. We are not starting dialogues. Maybe that's why we feel somewhere left out in bigger conversations. And Afrida so rightly said that maybe it's time that we push ourselves and come to the forefront and talk about things. Maybe that's when people are going to notice and hear us and talk about us. So the whole perspective, like you have been
Okay,
talking about.
Aradhana, you're the you're the daughter of the soil. Who are the top 5 most beautiful people you have styled?
I have
Give us
loved.
5. Don't be
Yeah,
selfish. Give us 5.
I mean, mostly celebrities, I would say, but there has been very small, when you're working, sometimes when you're shooting with a celebrity, but then you happen to meet people on the set who are probably not on the focus of
Yeah.
things, but you get to learn so much from them.
But your
But
top 5 people, or the top
my
5
top
beautiful people
five,
you've
I
made more
love
beautiful.
Karina.
Who you think you've made more beautiful? Aradhana, yes. Give
I
us the top
I
5.
absolutely love Kareena Kapoor. I think she's so beautiful. There was just this
Kareena
aura
Kapoor.
about Kareena Kapoor. Yeah, I
Okay.
loved.
Yeah.
Priyanka Chopra has been so professional. I have learned this from them. They wake up at 6 in the morning and they go working till 10 at night without complaining. They have a really hard life. If we only see a part of it, but their lives are much more harder than us. I've learned professionalism from Priyanka Chopra. I've personally, I mean, I'm completely blanking out right now. I think so many men actors as well. I mean, has been brilliant. There has been a shoot with Sushant and Kylie Jenner. There was a Vogue shoot that we did, and oh my God, absolute professionalism and the charm they come with on the set. It's just beautiful sometimes.
Yeah. Wow.
So as in when we go, I think I like working with you as well.
Thank you. Wow. I think I've made myself into your list. Thank you so much. That's amazing. And so I think Aradhana is being extremely humble here, but she's worked with some of the most amazing people and talent as comes in her industry. And there were things
Yes.
that happened in school, and she went through. Anyway, we'll get there. This needs a longer conversation.
Yes, that definitely needs a longer conversation.
Okay, Aradhana, in the space that you've worked with, the people that you've worked, has influences from Assam ever featured in the kind of work? Has Assam in some way featured in work that you do?
Absolutely. Actually now today when I was thinking about what we are going to talk, I remember there was the time when I went for the Google Art and Culture app that was being launched in Paris. This was 2017. This is when Google kind of already thought that virtual reality is going to be huge. And that point of time when I was in Paris, I actually saw somebody wearing an airy silk scarf. And I was so shocked. I was so surprised. And when I said, oh, where did you procure this from? And she's like, oh, I go on a vacation to Assam every year. And this is a local weave. I have this person. He's in the village. And it was absolutely shocking. And it was such a proud moment for me as well. The woman actually, she works with Google and she takes an holiday apparently every year to Assam just to pick up airy fabric, because they were already talking about it. They were doing research on airy silk, about sustainability, about an eco-friendly product. So that has been a very lovely experience. And yeah, I mean, that's how, being a part of Assam has always kind of figured in work, wherever you're traveling, you'll always meet somebody.
Isn't it amazing when the world thinks of sustainability and eco-friendliness that we always had it in us, in the sense of the looms and where we got it from and how we did things.
It's beautiful. I think the way you see how a person in an Assam village might have lived for a really long time. It was such an absolutely stunning way that we might all need to go back right now, looking at the pandemic that's going on. Our clothes, our eating habits, everything might resonate with how a person at a village in Assam might live. It's so simple and so beautiful, and I think that's a amazing perspective.
Getting back to basics.
Getting back to basics and sustainable. Airy, when we talk about it, Joyda, iman dhuniya, it takes you through winters, it takes you through summers. Silk Nike, which is so, it changes with the season. It's an heirloom piece. Ar iman dhuniya ke kiman time loi bonai. So many thoughts that go into it, it's absolutely brilliant. Assam is always so sweet, close to us, because we can relate to it. Aji ji hoye ase aro ami Assamot agote jenke dangor hoisilu ba ji hoisile, that lifestyle probably is what we all need to think about going back to.
In fact, Bombay manhe facial mask pinise with Assamese prints.
Absolutely.
I asked somebody on the road that they're Assamese prints. So
and airy apparently is it's a hypoallergic silk that never gives you a rash. It's so smooth on skin. So maybe that Assam airy silk is a big story right now. I think it's
in the times ahead, amar agole sabologia jekini samoy ase, and then in the way we roll forward, Assam.
Correct.
How do you see people like yourself? Do you see yourself in the future, Assam, in the fabric in airy that is going forward, or are you thinking ahead?
I'm definitely thinking ahead, and I'm thinking like how you're talking about a story, like coming from a photo shoot background. We talk about narrative, like Babita also said. Narratives are very important when you're doing a story. And like how Afrida said, we need to present the story, which might appeal to a larger audience. Airy now, how a mekhla sador is being worn by somebody who's from Assam, may not work for everybody who they would be like, oh, how do we wear a mekhla sador, But if that airy silk is turned and made into jackets, and say they made into scarves, they made into kaftans, they made into even fabric for curtains, they're great for interiors, I think that story might absolutely be a game changer. So I think for the next 5 years, for myself, for Assam, wherever I'm going to go, I think I'm going to really talk about this narrative that this just one silk, and Assam is the only producer. I mean, it's the biggest producer. There'll be so much that we could have done, and we can. And now is the time. Now when people are looking to how natural dyed fabrics. AD silk was always naturally dyed. This is what the world is looking at, and this is what I feel I would be able to present right now. And I want to present that. This story has been absolutely, it's the call of the times, the need of the hour for sure.
Our Ohomot to meet, the minds are changing. Manhor fashioner or consciousness beleg hoi goise towards fabrics, towards things that they wear, and towards things that they have around.
Right.
Our Ohomot jitu dhorone eri to goi ase, are we ready to meet that kind of mind ahead?
Yeah.
Are we meeting that thought process junto bahirot cholise? Are we in a state of readiness?
No, sadly we are not. I mean, Joyda, even when we are planning, say, a photo shoot, and I want to fly a team down, and we want to work there, there's so many hurdles that we face. Firstly, if say Goa tourism or Kerala tourism, the way they come forward, the minute you send one email to the tourism department, there are 20 other people who's ready to help you, to do everything, to sponsor, to fly the teams down, with everything, even light production, all the teams are ready. Because the whole production to start, sadly, it takes like a lot of teams. Then we have to fly professional people from Bombay or from Delhi. Then the whole charm of doing a story sometimes.
Are we lost in the bureaucracy of it, or are we lost in the slowness of things that is Assam?
I think we are lost in the whole representation. Kobat, there are people who are doing it, but maybe we don't know. They're not mainstream. Aji Janeke, you probably one of the first people who reached out to me to talk about it. There may be people, there are a lot of people in Assam who are probably doing it, and we don't know about it mainstream. Our connection to between us, Kobat, that thread is broken. So maybe we need to introspect, get in touch with people. Junior Muksi Nipai, they can get in touch with me, or Moijat Sinipa, I can get in touch with them. Maybe Okman directive deeply, from people who know how things are done. Okman Manuel Lokpai, maybe we could change the whole story.
Amar, this time, the time that is now in the pandemic, oil price pori goise. India, in fact, oil or in terms of fuel, it has come down by 50%. More report So when every industry is getting really hammered this way, protect to industry problem hoise, protect to jagata eta beleg dhorona struggle hoise. Amar, in terms of the fashion industry that is India, and relatively tar juntu seepage hoise, amar juntu erir, the things that is trickling in eri. I know etu homoyat juntu hoise, people are thinking and trying to get back to natural things.
Correct.
But is it possible to get back to natural things given the light of where we are right now?
It's actually very possible, and it's actually the right time to do it. Currently, not only fashion, not only how we live, everything. Our weddings are much smaller than, wedding. I'm talking about the industries because it was a big source of income for the fashion industry. A lot of people are involved. But our weddings are small. Our Mekhla Sador, the most expensive one, is also not like a Sabyasachi lehenga. It's because we have lived that life. We know the simplicity of it. That's been part of our roots. And I think now, when everybody wants to know that how to simplify things, a Homor story is very important. I think we should talk about how Amar Khodai, we were all people. We are people of very calm needs. We are not extravagant. We are not very loud. We are not over the top. Amar kuno sab kothai khub simply hoy. So I think that story, Ami definitely ghuri jabo parom, because that's how we all grew up, and we should tell. I mean, mainstream, you know, now how we are
No,
talking
no, I think enukwa kotha hole mor eta analogy thake. I might be wrong here. For example, you know, the way some Japanese fashion is, their traditional wear is, you know.
Correct.
Enukwa nohoy je gote prithibiye pini ase. They are inward looking. Eloke pinise. But it has evolved into such a state of art.
Correct.
You know, enukwa nohoy je gote prithibi khone amar kapur pindile amar art form to agole jabo.
Absolutely.
We can be good as we are. We can be good as we are, right?
Absolutely. Our Tahati, they take all your Japanese design, you'll see they'll take so much pride. Belage pinok ni pinok Tahati khodai pinibo, Tahati khodai kotha pate. You know, and their whole model of that simplicity, the mainstream model is also like that. So I see a lot of Assamese designers sometimes to Bombay go, you know, maybe they change the whole story. Delhi tenike pine, but Bombay tenike pine. You know, amar jonu mekhla sadar simplicity, his story to being true to that story, keeping the simplicity alive, eri juntu handloom, natural diet, he to rakhi, ami agbahibo laibo. Jodi eto ami state wise je acha aji moi Gujarater goisu manhe enekwa pine moi ekene mekhla sadar to change kori, present kori. Tetia, you know, then that whole story is lost. And staying true to what we are, okman time lage, but you know, slowly, I think gradually we will have a beautiful, like sabe pini ball.
In any profession, I think sticking to the story is what is important, basically. What the story is and what the story, you have to know the story to tell the story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, on that note, thank you, Aradhana. It was lovely speaking to you. Yeah.
Thank you so
and,
much.
Even with your experience, I think we need a lot more conversational time, which I promise will happen soon. But these are openers into what are going to happen next. Yeah. All right.
Thank you for making me a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that was Aradhana, and she's also had a fantastic kind of work life, an amazing mind. Amar logot roi ase Rupam da, and here he is. Hello, good evening, Rupam.
Hello, ki khobor?
Khub bhal. Good evening to you. Nice to see you.
Good evening to you too. Yeah.
and thank you for giving us time. I know you're a very, very busy man, but you know, thank you for coming.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I know your heart beats for a lot that is Assam, and as you have had shared. So, Rupam, why don't you tell us about what you do? Give us a short piece about yourself.
What I do, okay. See, I basically started in advertising, okay, and then over the years I realized that it's not making much sense. I had earned what I had to earn, okay, and you know, this whole classic thing about winning awards and all that. So I had a pile of awards from all Cannes, Clio, won shows of the world, and everything. And then I said, listen, yeah, I mean, I'm just impressing the jury. And how could I use my experience and talent in a way that probably helps, be it clients or be it other things, or even be it saving dogs in a very different way? Can I use design? Can I use communication in a manner that changes certain dimensions? Then what I did is that, therefore, in Burnett on the 3rd of October is my birthday, okay? And so I went to my boss in Burnett and I said, listen, I need a birthday gift for me. And so he said, yes, what do you want? Because, you know, I was doing pretty well and I was handling the Reliance Communication business, heading it. So I said, listen, I need a break and I need to see how my design capabilities and evolution has sort of going to transform something around, and not just an ad and, you know, repeatedly trying to impress and get clients to buy things all the time. That's when I decided, and I set things up for them, of course, and put creative directors and things together. And we started our sort of design sort of a business. So initially people were asking me, are you in advertising? Are you design? Because we used to say we are a multidisciplinary design system. And they hadn't heard of it. This is in 2007. And I said, what do you mean? So you said either advertising or either you're design, you'll do a logo. You know, to cut the long story short, my wife and I, Oli, we started off, and our whole logic initially was, you won't believe it, Joy, initially was how could we have a 7-day weekend? So in a way that we can do work. Yeah, we can work whenever we want. We can holiday whenever we want. One of those idealistic sort of fancy dreams if you're on your own. So we did that. We've been managing quite a bit on that, and but yes, the methods of working in our country are very different. Expectations are very different. So to keep the boat afloat, we do various things. But now we are a multidisciplinary system that does everything from branding. Okay, I might just collaborate with you on audio mnemonics. Okay, or if I call it a brand audio mnemonic. Okay,
signature sounds of audio, basically.
Absolutely. Or probably say somebody says, listen, I have an office, but my brand looks like this, but my office looks something like something else. It's like your house. You build things up to make it for your personality. So when I visit you, I know Joy likes this and that, and that's how he likes it, and that's how the house is. So there was a contradiction in the way they would live and all that. So that's where we entered the brand interior design, interior design spaces. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we are doing interior design spaces. Then we realized, listen, everything is okay, but I'm not getting the right source of furniture. So we got into furniture design. Then there was a client who had said that, listen, I need some good photography work, but I don't have the money. The clients somehow never have the money. So anyway, so they, all my friends are fantastic photographers, but the budgets were a bit too high. And so I said, how much money do you have? He says, just, I have just $1.5 lakh, and that's all I can have. And you want to do it, do it. I was losing the design business because of the photography. So I said, okay, why don't you give me the $1.5 lakh? I'll go and give it to the photographer and get the things done. Okay. So he gave it to me. So I sent my boys to Chandni Chowk to buy a camera and 2 lights. And we started photography. So we do photography as well now.
Wow. That's a lot of things, but design.
Yeah. So
under the roof.
Yes, absolutely. So also into film, also into coffee table books, packaging, so a whole host of things. And that's what I say multidisciplinary, because and it's a typical design. So advertising is a part of it.
So why design lo tomorrow can I get fascination hole? How are you fascinated? Can I get fascination hole?
Okay. So somehow, over bottles of wine, things happen. And, so suddenly realize that, everything is a part of a grand design. Everything. People, animals, climate, seas, greenery, nature, skies. I mean, there is a design to everything.
Yes.
So is there anything I can learn from it or contribute towards it? Is there a possibility? So, so therefore, design was, making me feel very excited about it. So it was like a blue ocean for me. So it was not like something that advertising I've done and a part of design and all that, but this looked very new to me. Great. So both of us then we started doing a variety of things and beginning to love design, and we designed for several things besides clients, and it's become a part of our life, the way we live, So
actually, you just gave yourself to design the idea. Whatever followed was following, right? That's the point.
Yeah, but that is the part of the grand design.
Yeah.
You don't have to kill yourself for it. Like you just imagine the day you got into music, and the way you have become so well known, and you have put your heart into it, right? So you have designed your music and your maybe lyrics, maybe the way kind of music that you want to sing. And then you found a certain set of people who love your music, right? So you have actually designed that, actually. You could have been in the news, and Arnab could have had a hard time if you were there. So you know what I'm saying. But music is your passion. So you've designed that part for yourself. That's the way I look at things.
Yeah. No, I think আমি যোনটো কালি কথা পাতি আছিলো, and I think you would understand design very well, and I think most of us also in our own ways. কিয়নো আমি তাকে যোৱাকালি কথা পাতি আছিলো যে আমাৰ নৰ্থ ইষ্ট আৰু অসমৰ নিচিনা অসমৰ পৰা যোনখিনি মানুহ যায়, তেওঁলোকে ইমান ধুনীয়া বস্তু সৰুৰ পৰা এক্সপ'জ হৈ থাকে আমাৰ হাবি জংগলে হওক আমাৰ ব্ৰহ্মপুত্ৰই হওক আমাৰ গানে হওক আমাৰ কণ্টেম্পৰেৰী মিউজিক হওক আমাৰ স্পিৰিচুৱেল মিউজিক হওক আমাৰ ভিতৰত এজিটেশ্যন আছে এগ্ৰেছন আছে এক্সট্ৰিমিজমৰ ষ্টৰিজ আছে আমাৰ এটা জাতিৰ যিমানখিনি ড্ৰামা লাগে এভৰিথিং ইজ দেয়াৰ আমাক বেলেগে আমাক কোনো বুজাব নালাগে তাৰমানে এইটো কি হয় পাহাৰ কি হয় নদী কি হয় বানপানী কি হয় ভাইলেন্স কি হয় পলিটিক্স কি হয় এজিটেশ্যন আমি যেতিয়া ওলাই আহো আই থিংক আমাৰ এটা চাৰ্টেন সেন্স অফ আমাৰ এস্থেটিক সেন্সিবিলিটি সোমাই যায় আমাৰ ভিতৰত উই হ্যাভ ইট অলৰেডি ৰাইট অসমৰ সেইটো এটা এডভান্টেজ আছে
হিউজ এডভান্টেজ তুমি যে কথাটো কৈছা নহয় I'm just saying that is not just an advantage that's a huge advantage and I find that very unique extremely unique
very
because
unique
very unique মানে so জংঘল সব জায়গাত আছে some I don't know maybe there's some magnetic gravitational force that we all enjoy
right
that we don't know geographically
right.
I mean I don't know maybe we're positioned in a certain way that is so amazing and look at the harmony and the love that we have amidst ourselves the way we talk the way we respect the way we conduct the way we sort of celebrate
সেই কথাটোতে মানে আমি নিজকে অসমীয়াকে মই নিজক বুলি ভাবিলে মানে আই থিংক আমাৰ মেইনলেণ্ড ইণ্ডিয়াৰ যেনেকুৱা নহওক বা কালি ইউপি হওক বা বিহাৰ হওক বা মহাৰাষ্ট্ৰ হওক I find ourselves very, very different from them.
I agree.
Where we come from and in what we carry.
Right.
And that also matters because we have grown up from what is the central Indian cultural thing of Bollywood. We have grown away from it, I mean, durot janmo hoisu.
You just said it. Yeah, actually. Yeah. Absolutely.
মানে মই কালি ইয়াত কাবাৰ কথা পাতি আছিলো এতিয়া বম্বেত বা দিল্লীত যদি মানুহৰ বিয়া হয় এতিয়া মানে ধৰ্মা প্ৰডাকশ্যনৰ শাহৰুখ খানৰ গান গাব লাগিব কিন্তু অসমত বিয়া নাম আছে হৰিনাম আছে এতিয়া আমাৰ টি চিৰিজৰ ভজন হলেও গৈ পেলাই এইটো কবাৰ আমাৰ চিনেমাৰ গানবোৰ গৈ পেলাই বেলেগ ধৰণকে ৱৰ্ড কৰি পেলাই সেইবোৰ ডিভোচনেল সংগছ হয় কিন্তু আমাৰ মন্দিৰত গোৱা গান আছে আমাৰ বিহুত গোৱা গান আছে আমাৰ হোলীত গোৱা গান আছে আমাৰ চিনেমা নালাগে So, our cultural ecosystem, it's a differently firing ecosystem. It fires
absolutely. Absolutely. Arwata kotha, if I just add to it, while money is so important, okay, it's like the fuel in your car. If you have enough fuel, you can drive that far or get that far.
Right.
But somehow, in the north of our country that I've observed. The mentality is highly commercial. Right. Highly commercial, even as a child. Bombay ebar ghui thakote bahut no agot day moi lower parade leo panadot kam korisu. So I got a little fed up with the situation, so I just took a walk and went to a Levi's sort of a store, and I was looking at the jeans, and not because I want to buy, but I was looking at the cuts, and I wanted a boot cut which I was not getting anywhere. Yeah. And so the little boy came to us, and said, why don't you buy this? It's good. So moi bhabilu je ba etu horu lora kintu mane tar attitude to enukwa. So moi nazano homor manu moi tak kolu je okay, but where do you get this money and this sort of a choice? I mean to buy this sort of thing. Yes, I have already started in the trade of stocks and shares, and
Yeah.
So as a child. The direction of life is how do I get rich?
Right.
How do I strive to get rich? See, the money thing is also in all of us, but somehow our children are not immediately exposed to that. I was not exposed to that immediately. I didn't think about somehow money strangely, in that way for a very long time. I mean, I'm still not good at it now. I have a lot to learn from
the basic transactional nature of things, the basic transactional nature of things, and accumulation of money, right?
Which we as a majority of people don't have. We find it difficult to ask somebody for money. Even today, to build somebody, we are not used to it. We're learning in the whole process. Somebody else from the north would start.
মোৰ কেতিয়াবা এনেকুৱা লাগে মানুহে মানুহৰ after you have achieved a certain thing, আপনাৰ যেতিয়া পইচা হৈছে হেৰি হৈছে, you want a different kind of life. What do you
Right.
want in life? You want to go to a quiet place য'ত nature আছে,
Right.
য'ত পুখুৰী আছে, য'ত নদীখন আছে, য'ত পাহাৰ
Right.
আছে,
Right.
য'ত সংগীত আছে. You want to get away. Our
Right.
problem is that we are born there. You know what I
Correct.
mean? যোনটো মানুহে বিচাৰে at the end of the whole big road, we are
Right,
born
right.
there. You know,
Yes, yes. Yeah.
I just wish we find a better way to capitalize on that and build things of beauty. I think, I don't know if capitalization is the word, to make capital
Yeah.
of it, if we can take that to create beauty outside or inside, or whatever, to write beautiful books, to make beautiful
Yes.
things, to have things
Right.
designed very well. নহয় নে বাৰু কথাটো?
Absolutely. আৰু মই তুমি যি কৈছা একদম ঠিকে কৈছা. If I were not to use the word capitalist, okay,
Yeah.
but যদি আমাৰ ইমান বস্তু চলে, আমাৰ ইমান বস্তু হৈ থাকে, in the world of things, গুৱাহাটীত কোৱা বা য'তেই কোৱা in the life, somehow there is an element of goodness. See, when we talk about Assam, going out or exporting Assam out, we either talk about products, okay, or we talk about tourism destinations.
Yeah.
A maximum we speak about Kaziranga.
Right.
That's how people remember us as the rhino.
Right.
In fact, some friends used to call me the rhino. So I'm saying there's a lot of goodness in Assam and Guwahati. We need to export goodness outside.
Right.
That should be a part of the design. আজি আমি ভূটানৰ বিষয়ে কওঁ, happiness index is the highest
Exactly.
in Bhutan.
অসমৰ বৰ্ডাৰতে আছে. অসমৰ বৰ্ডাৰতে আছে ভূটান. I think camera অলপ problem হৈ আছে. Sorry, we were getting camera feed to অলপ problem হৈছে. তাকে কথা কৈছে, we should export goodness. অসমৰ বৰ্ডাৰত আছে ভূটান, and য'ত happiness index আহিছে, মানুহ কিমান happy. And that has come because they value the natural ecosystem, they value culture, they value hygiene, plan ase, laws ase. I think there's a lot to learn. I hope we get him back on camera to olop stall korise teketor. But it was really interesting catching on to that. Ami take kali kotha pati asilu je Ohomot we have everything going out. Hetu beleg ekhon state ot হঠাতে মানুহে সেইখিনি বস্তু নাপায়. অসমত আমি যোনখিনি আমি ন্যাচুৰেলি পাইছো, পাহাৰে, ভৈয়ামে, নদীয়ে, পুখুৰীয়ে, হাবিয়ে, বননিয়ে, ৱাইল্ড লাইফ, এমেজিং মিউজিক, এইখিনি লৈ আমি কেনেকৈ আগবাঢ়িছো, আই থিংক দ্যাট উইল ৰিয়েলি ডিটাৰমিন দ্য নেক্সট, দ্যাট ইজ আছাম. আমি অলপ আমাৰ লগত ইয়াৰ পিছত আহিবলগীয়া আছিলে ৰনি লাহিৰি. উইল জাষ্ট ৱেইট. আমাৰ কেমেৰা, we are a little off camera. But anyway, I'll get Ronnie into the mix in like 30 seconds. I'm just tying it up. So, Ronnie Lahiri, Amar Bondhu, Tekhet Hall, he'll have his introduction, but he's been part of amazing movies. Makini Kotha Patin. And both Ronnie and Rupam are friends from a different time. And I'm just wishing that Rupam comes back. So, I'll get Ronnie to the. Hello, Ronnie, good evening.
Hi, good evening. কি খবৰ?
খুব ভাল, Ronnie. Good to see you.
Yeah, same here.
Ronnie, you moved from Bombay পৰা গোৱা গুচি গলা. That's a big move.
Finally decided to leave Bombay and শান্তিৰ জীৱন হেতুৱে খুজি আছো. Enough of city life.
On the audience ক'বা নেকি একদম ছুটিকে তোমাৰ ডিসিশনটো কেনেকৈ আহিলে?
3 months মই মানে February ঘূৰি আহিছিলো from Russia, উদম সিংৰ shoot শেষ কৰি, and I was doing my quarantine কৰি আছিলো, নিজৰ self quarantine. তেতিয়া মানে গভৰ্ণমেণ্টৰ quarantine নাছিলে, but just as a concerned citizen I was doing my own thing. So, and my film Gulabo Sitabo তেতিয়া release হ'ব আছিলে on 17th April, and there were a lot of confusions. A cinema hall it would be on or not on, and we were like still discussing. That was the time I had last opportunity to travel to Himachal, our Ghor, where my wife and daughter are. But because of this whole uncertainty, Bombay to asilu. By then, within 2 hours, gote country to lockdown not gone. So after that, you were stuck. So mane tinima at a flat or bitot asilu. Okole, there was nobody. I was all alone. So doing everything. So that was not a bigger problem. I mean, being a boarding school product, so cooking or heri kora, clean kora wasn't the problem. But I think the bigger thing was getting stuck in an apartment for 3 months, not seeing anyone, not being able to talk to anyone, or a slight interaction with a living human. Nasile. Of course, Zoom and Hebur ase, but that is not a substitute. So the moment Goa khulile, they said I was the first to pack my bags, gari thumalu. I didn't want to take a flight because my whole decision was tinima iman dukh kore ghort asilu. I don't want to catch the thing by just taking a flight. You never know what can happen. So gari to start korilu and I just drove down to Goa. And initially the plan was for 15-20 days thaku episode. But once I came here, suddenly there was so much of weight which I could feel. It just disappeared. Goa hi. Khula openness, the sky, the paddy fields, the ocean, and something which I grew up with. I was born in Nagaland, grew up in Shillong. With that openness, I believe the first thing which I realized was, I think I'm staying here. So I called up my partner Sujit. Kolu, listen, I have decided. Moi Goa thaku. So he was like very supportive. He said, "Moi to 8 bosor agote Kolkata gusi goisilu. I only come to Bombay to work, and that's it. Not to socialize, not to do anything. Bombay amar kormo bhumi. Ahu kam kore gusi jao." So he said, perfect decision. Goa thak. Within once or 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks, whenever there is work, Bombay is not very far. It's a 1 hour flight. You come down, do your work.
Kisman decision kiman easy hoy gol nohale Ronnie, some decisions to make, and to compartmentalize the karmabhumi teloke okon agote bujile bostlu to etu karmabhumi. Bombay has become office for you. Ketiba ahibile jeta kam thake ahim, otherwise we can operate from anywhere. And I think chronologically backward, Ronnie and Sujit Sarkar have been part of amazing movies. Ekdom recent khon Udham Singh, Gulabo, tar got amazing movies like Pink, Vicky Donner, a game changer. So and Ronnie has grown up in the Northeast. Shillongot poise, Nagaland dangor hoise, Shillongot poise. It goes back to the Northeast all the time. Ronnie is part of films, and Ronnie is also part of football. Northeast United in the football area set that Ronnie was a big part of things. And so Ronnie, though Bombay, he works and he lives in Goa. His heart is in the Northeast, and that is the reason why we bring him on here. And he's most happy. Janmabhumi, of course. Ronnie, always a pleasure. I mean, kotha patise with people whose hearts are in the Northeast, and especially when talking about perceptions. So it is a Sarikhon film. More eta dutai proshno ase Ronnie, because they will merit a little conversation. I mean, Sarikhon film je dekhisu kotha paise Vicky Donner, Piku, Gulabo, or last one Udham Singh. So মই যদি এজন অডিয়েন্স হিচাপে তোমাৰ ফিল্মখন যদি ইফ আই ৱাচিং ইয়ৰ মুভি, মোৰ এনেকুৱা লাগে এই ষ্টৰিবোৰ বৰ আগতে ইণ্ডিয়াত দে ৱেৰ নট ৰিয়েলি প্ৰেভেলেন্ট ষ্টৰি টাইপছ. অনুৰাগ কাশ্যপৰ আমি যেতিয়া সত্য চাইছিলো, so that was the gangster genre of movies. That was the gangster এটা বেলেগ ধৰণৰ ষ্টাইলিং আছিলে, and he'd also brought in realism. But তোমালোকৰ যোনটো, I think you brought in fringe stories and fringe elements to movies. The Vicky Donner নিচিনা যোনটো আয়ুষ্মানৰ যোনটো ষ্টৰি আছিলে, সেইটো আগতে কেতিয়াও নহলে, মানে about losers in life and about small people, aspirations, dreams, and people who have faults in them, and crazy bostu. So more lage, if you've grown up on the fringe, which is the fringe of India, not naturally succumbing to Bollywood and the great central culture barometer of things, I think your growing up in the rest of India has really forced you, your mind, it has forced your mind to bring stories like them to the central fold.
See, I think most important thing for any filmmaker or anyone is to make things on something which you have experienced, something which you have seen. So, আমি তো মানে South Bombay ডাঙৰ হোৱা নাই, আৰু আমি মানে from the age of 10 আমি Switzerland holiday to কৰা নাই. So we lived in smaller towns, smaller places, and tate we found our characters, our heroes, or some people who have some negatives. So what you see is what you bring about. Because end of the day, what is cinema? Cinema is just a mirror of your society. So ami hetu side of the society, we've seen it.
Exactly.
We haven't seen the other side of the society. New York or London or ami thaka nai. Now we travel, but we never grew up. So we don't know the kind of people and what they think. So which is fair enough for the other makers who lived that. So they are making that. We never lived that. So for us, probably you will remember Wiki Donor, a lot of the characters, if you look at it, came from Lajpat Nagar. If you remember, Ami 98, 97 or third floor, bohi.
Yes.
Gahori mangkho khai, and we used to jam to music in those days. So when we used to go to those houses, we used to see these kind of wiki kind of characters every day in Amar Colony.
Double story, all double story.
Double story, Barsati Ghor. So a lot of things were from our personal experiences.
Right.
So that's how, if you look at these are the people which probably the traditional Bollywood people never thought of telling stories, because they were like regular people, losers. They are not the heroic people, because traditionally Bollywood was all about heroic people or good and the bad. But there are so many stories which are of various, every day, everyone has a story. Right. Everyone's life is a story. How they grow up, what their struggles, what their ambitions, what their aspirations, everything. These are all small stories, and you just have to pick up people in that.
You know, আমাৰ মানে মইতো মানে কাকো হেৰি কৰিবলৈ কোৱা নাই, মানে is actually where you actually growing up from, মানে Farhan Akhtar, Zoya Akhtar, you know, 2 films, Dil Chahta Hai আৰু Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. এটা বেলেগ কথা যে আমি যে Dil Chahta Hai প্ৰথম চাইছিলো, we probably with the music, আমি probably ভাবিলো আমাৰ নিচিনা musician we have futures in Bombay. That is the big learning from there.
Absolutely.
কথাটো হ'ল, but cinema এখন এটা চালে এনেকুৱা লাগে মানে Bombay guys going to Goa, Bombay guys going to Spain, মানে Bandra লৰা Bombay গৈছে আৰু কি Goa গৈছে আৰু Spain গৈছে, and that is the narrative, you know.
But the thing is, see, one can't fault them. I think they lived that life.
No, I'm not faulting them, but you know, they grew up in those neighborhoods, right?
That world much better. So if you remember, we had done a film called Banana.
Right.
So hetu ki asile eta small town Ranchi, Jamshedpur. There also the boys went for a holiday. Now it was Jamshedpur or lora kot jabo, Puri jabo.
Exactly.
So if you look at it, bostu to heke. But if you look at it, we picked it up from a cultural point of view, from where they are and their economic strata and what their dreams are. They also have dreams of going to a beach for a holiday. But Goa is way beyond their league. And for a Bombay guy, Goa is like right here.
Or their geography even.
Exactly. Exactly.
But Ronnie, I think over the last 9 to 10 years, you've made guys like you have made, and etia belege both follow korise, but you've made the rest of India very important in main Bollywood. That is important. And hetu dorkar hoy na kobo nor, kintu that is very appreciable for the fact that you are working in Bollywood and you've brought justice to that whole sense of other storytelling in the rest of India ki hoy ase, you know. Aru hetu character e hok aru exactly juntu je all heroes mane heroic hoy thakibo nore to protect to character, there has to be stories, right?
Exactly. See, the basic thing is we still look for stories, try out for stories beleg different regions, or why not have a story of somebody in Darjeeling, because they also face so much of problems. Why not have a story from Assam? So but the thing is, in today's date, if you look at it, our audience also has to be there for it. My core audience doesn't see it, then because at the end of the day, cinema is an art, but it's a commercial art. It's pretty expensive to make that. So I cannot be just Nizor mane say, oh, I want to showcase Nagaland because I grew up there. So, but that I need to have some people who are going to view it. And slowly, the people are buying into the kind of stories that we are telling. Slowly it is changing, and they are not just sticking to a very fixed Bollywood narrative.
Yeah,
They want
yeah.
to see different kind of stuff. So, which
তুমি
is an
আসলে যোনটো কথা
encouragement.
কৈ আছা তাকে আফ্ৰিদাই কৈছিলে, আফ্ৰিদা ইজ ফ্ৰম মিৰৰ নাও,
Yeah.
মানে about doing stories from the north east. কিন্তু কথাটো হ'ল once they've done a story in Assam or Nagaland, পিছত যেতিয়া চাই অসমৰ নাগালেণ্ডৰ কিমান মানুহে চাই আছে, that is the feedback, that is basically whether they can do the story again, you know.
Exactly.
মানে সেইটো কথা আমাৰ মানুহে বুজিব লাগিব. Just because you're there
Exactly.
doesn't mean you will create stories from this demographic
Like
all
if
the time.
somebody is listening, I can say like আমি যেতিয়া মানে film to distribution হয় all over the country, অসমত number of halls are less, the kind of business that happens, it's like a dark hole. There is no transparency in the business start. So basically, as a producer, what I do is, okay, let's say 20 rupees. So expectation is 80 rupees because the number of population and everything is so much that it can generate that kind of business. But because of lack of transparency, lack of infrastructure, what happens is, as a producer, what we do is, acha, I have got somebody who's willing to give me upfront 20, but 20 low, I am saving myself and going out. I don't know what is going to happen with that film.
Right.
That as a culture needs to change for us to make more films of that side people, and also for the rest of the country to understand that India is not only Bombay, UP or Delhi, because maximum stories to hetu hai ase.
হয়,
India is diverse. There are so many
Hi.
places,
Hi.
and you can tell stories in so many places. And
Hi.
end of the day, we are all Indians.
হয়.
Mane, it's only not India is not just, or Indians are not only in Bombay, Delhi, and UP.
Exactly.
It's huge. But again, we are kind of stuck with the whole thing of commerce aspect of it. But slowly we want to change that narrative, and we want to tell stories from different regions. That's our very strong thought process that we want to carry on.
Ronnie, our friend is here, Rupam. He's just connected back, so I'll bring you here. He's hello, Rupam. You're connecting back.
Hi.
What's up?
Good to have you both. So
yeah, he's my inspiration for joining this industry. I had no clue what this industry was all about. So all I knew was that Rupam da is in advertising. Let me try and get into it, do something.
Okay. I think he had a big part in your design as a filmmaker. Okay, he designed you. Just to get a small story, Rupam da, because you both are here, how did you both manage to get onto football? আমাক অলপ বুজাই দিয়া, because that was a huge, মানে আজি ফুটবল টিমে ভাল কৰিছে বেয়া কৰিছে, that's a different thing, but that two guys who outside Assam managed to turn and get a team from the northeast, that's a big story. এইটোৰ ওপৰত চাগে কোনোবা বেলেগে চিনেমা বনাব কেতিয়াবা, ৰণীয়ে চাব চাগে এখন চিনেমা, to make a professional football thing. So anyway, Rupam da, you go first.
Yeah. So joy is like that. See, now there's a classic example of what we were discussing, that we need to build connections and networks, right, within our own people across the world, not just in Delhi, Bombay, or Assam. Now, one of the classic examples is Ronnie. Now, Ronnie and I connected very well for a very long time because of our schooling, our bele kotha our understanding it's very good. So what he did is that he was the co-partner with John Abraham on the Northeast United Football League. Okay, now it is Northeast, so he also realized that we need somebody who understands this, if I may say, the animal Northeast. Tumi je koisala agote, the element of aggression, the element of goodness, the element of team sport, football loving place, aru bahut kom manue etu buji pai dei, etu bahut kom manue buji pai. Aru jitia moi goisilu, then so therefore he introduced me, and he gave me this connection to connect with John Abraham and all that, and the whole investor gang, and sort of present to them. What was interesting is that the investors had no clue of what the Northeast is. Again, the same thing, the investors thought that it is a huge jungle. Okay, maybe we can spot Tarzan sometime. Okay, and these guys, they are jungly and stuff like that. So what I did is, in the presentation, is build up that Northeast world in the whole presentation first. Colors, people, dialect, eating, habit, a little away from the so-called, cliched and abused word called mainland. I won't say mainland, but I'm saying that, the the North's been on top, and that's how these investors understood. Listen, yeah, this is a ball game. This fellow will be able to handle it because he understood Northeast, and Don Abraham was very supportive, and that's how it all began. So we did every single thing on it basically, and that's how Ronnie and I got into this heavily.
Yeah.
Ronnie, did you see football as an idea for a long time? As an idea to work
I've
with?
been a big time into football for a very long time, and honestly speaking, me and John, we were collaborating in those days. We were doing 2 films back to back, so we were sitting, and that's when he came up with the thing that there is this ISL league coming up, and there was this another friend of ours from Shillong, Ming, who was there.
Yeah.
So he got the thing, and John was like, I think I should pick up this football team, and there is a scope. It's like IPL and everything. So when I heard that he's picking up something in Guwahati, so the first thing I was like, okay, that's very interesting because football and Northeast, it's big and all that. So initially, I asked them. I was not even part of the thing. It was just that discussions we were having. When the basic discussion happened that okay, so then they came up with a name which was like I would say a generic name which had nothing to do with any region or anything, and it would have been like any other club. But I could sense a bigger opportunity over there because it was the first time Northeast was being represented anywhere. Whether it's Bollywood cricket or anywhere, IPL it didn't have, Bollywood it doesn't have any representation. I felt that this is a national
That
thing.
was a landmark. That was a landmark event. Ronnie,
and football being football, it will be. So that's when I suggested you have a big opportunity while calling a X name like whatever JA or whatever name versus calling it Northeast United means you're not limiting yourself to just a Guwahati audience. You're getting the entire 8 states behind you.
Right.
And the thing is, there is a immense sense of loyalty which the people have for the Northeast because there is a pent up desire for recognition in the mainland country that Northeast represents something. So this was a huge opportunity for us. So that's when I explained to them, they agreed that yes, Northeast United sounds really good. It sounds much bigger as a concept. It's not just a football club, but it's the people. We are bringing in people together. It's not just the football team together. And that's when the whole idea that okay, now we need to design it. And I knew in the flash that the only person who would understand that would be Rupam. So I first thing was called him up and said, listen, we need to do something on this, and it's a great opportunity that we can showcase a lot of things. I mean, people try to do tourism campaigns or this and that, but football and in a mainstream star sports ISL as a platform, it was our biggest chance to showcase Northeast in every way, culturally or football, people, everything we could show in that. So that's how we basically got into it. And as he said, it was all about networking. Once he came on board, we got the thing done. Then we said, let's have an anthem. And for the anthem, you were also part of it. We decided that let's have, because Northeast is synonymous in the rest of the country for its football and for its music. Let's marry the two things together. And music, we thought let's bring everyone from every state. And it was an amazing experience because half the people I didn't even meet. People were recording it in Aizawl, in Tripura, in Kohima, and sending us stuff. And we created a whole video and a song, which was amazing in that way.
I know. Mane nation building it was like people building around with people, through sport, through music, in the real sense of the term. I hope, henceforth we pick on these experiences and we learn from them. These have been brilliant times. Northeast coming together moment more monot night on it. We came together for the sport. I just wish there is better documentation so that we remember the reasons why we came together, how things happened, and people went out of the state and with their collective experience thought of the state. Those are very important lessons that need to come out sometime, somewhere soon. And so I
think he's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, getting me back?
Yeah.
Adi, a lot of internet problems were, but anyway, thank you both for joining us today. I think this was a lovely discussion. With the experience and the time that you've given to your craft, but I think it's all of whole package of But
Absolutely.
thank you so much for joining us, Ronnie from
Hey,
Goa.
thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
But I think with what we want to do with Sentinel here, I think we will be seeing more of you in the times to come. We'll be needing your
Sure.
experience,
Thank
your
you so
mind.
much. Yeah, we will.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Thank you both. Thank you both. Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend ahead.
Take care.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.